Okay, so here we are. These are the tribes that we're going to be visiting. And so there's 5, but 7 in all. So we started with the Hadzabe, which was 1. Then we did 2 Datogas. One was a blacksmith tribe, and one is the pastoralist tribe. The pastoralists live very much like the Maasai. Then we did the Iraq. The Iraq are the agro-pastoralists. They will grow crops, and they also have livestock. Then we did 2 Maasai. This is the Maasai that was Mateo, who was my lead guide. That was his family. And then, hold on here. And then, oh, hold on. Yeah. And then we did another Maasai tribe. I wanted to compare and see if they're all living the same. And there was just only a slight difference with this second tribe when they do their chai tea. The chai tea from Mateo's tribe, they totally use just the bark in it. The other tribe would use real tea. They were putting actual tea in it. So that was the only difference I saw. They were very adamant. They want to try to live as much to this Maasai life as they possibly can, which we'll talk when we get there. And my final tribe I lived with, which would be number 7, was the Sanjo Batemi tribe. So here we go. This is where we were. And so Kenya, right next, bordering on Kenya, we're in Arusha. And so I flew into Kilimanjaro airport, and then Mateo and Tembo met me at the airport, and we stayed overnight there because I flew in very, very, very late. And then we got up early the next morning, and we had a very, very long drive. So again, we had to drive from Arusha, and it was about a 12-hour drive, I believe. And we went to the Hadzabe first. But this is the important thing to notice. A lot of the land has been taken away by the government because of greed. And it's all for tourism, and it's all for big agriculture. And so their ancestral land is being taken away, and they're being brought together. And so you've got 2 pastoralist tribes, the Datoga and the Iraq, living next to the Hadzabe, who are hunters and gatherers. And so you'll see during a couple of the slides, you'll see how can they be hunting where you've got a whole bunch of cattle being grazed with shepherds there. That means where the wild animals going to go. The wild animals are not going to be there when you've got bells and all these, donkeys making all their sounds and everything. It's going to be almost impossible to hunt. So for this specific tribe that I lived with, there may be other Hadzabes that are maybe having more success, not this Hadzabe tribe. They were so desperate to find food. And it was heart-wrenching. So that's where we're going to first start. And then when we did this, both Maasai, they're over here, and then the Sanjo tribe. So we had to kind of another big long trip to get to those guys. So we'll start with the Hadzabe. That was the first tribe. Here we are, my team. This is Maneno. He is not the Maasai. I think he's from the Irabu, I think that his tribe is called, and they're agro-pastoralists as well. They do fruit and vegetables and meat as well. But then this is Mateo. He was my lead guide, and this is Tembo. They're both Maasai. This is our vehicle, our mighty Land Rover, and it was amazing. I don't know what we would have done without this. This Land Cruiser was unbelievable, and it got us through things. The roads were I thought the roads were bad in the Pacific Islands. Oh, I thought my neck was like, a couple times. I said, oh, golly. So here we are. This is our first campground, and this is where the boys slept. And this is my tent. These are the Hadzabe. They hadn't had anyone living there before, so we were first. And so they had to clear the land for us. So there's a video on my social media where you can see them digging out the roots and the stumps and things that were there. And they made space for us. I was so grateful to them. They were just so gracious and so welcoming. Again, having someone who looks like me, I'm so different than they are. And my hair, that was a big thing because I work out, and my muscles, they didn't understand, what are these? How did you get that way? Why do you feel the need? And we talked a lot about those things. They felt it was not unnecessary. And we'll talk about that as we move on. This was my bathroom every day. This is not a luxury hotel. I had my toilet paper with me, and then Menendo, who was my chef, he would warm up some water for me and put the water in a little pan. And so I would go out and find a bush, and you just have to hope someone else is not there at the same time. And you have to be able to squat. So if anyone's going to want to go and do this, you have to know how to squat, because that's how you're going to go to the bathroom. There's nothing to sit on. There's nothing to flush. There's nothing, they use leaves. They use leaves to wipe with. I was going to do this, but then I felt, because I'm so sensitive, the last thing I need right now is to have some kind of a rash or a breakout down there. So I thought next time I go back, I will definitely try that, but I'm going to stick with my toilet paper. And because I have celiac disease, even my toilet paper, I have to have my own special brand that doesn't have any kind of plants like gluten in it, because many of the products do. And so I had to travel with my own that I know I don't have reactions to. So I had my toilet paper and then the water. No soap. I would just splash water on my face and kind of wash off my arms. I couldn't wash my hair, so I would just braid my hair, and you know, that kind of thing, very quick. And that's how I would take my shower and going to the bathroom. That's out in the bush. Again, I had such a fear every time I was out there, and in the nighttime before I go to bed, to go out there by yourself. You don't know. I was literally, sometimes I felt like I just want to cry, because if could a cobra, anything come up, and they're so fast. The fear was unbelievable that I was feeling all the time, but I knew that God was watching over, and I was going to get through whatever would happen. So here is their beautiful village. It's, oh, when I walked upon it, I just could not believe. And they live this way. This is their life. You will see that they go out into the, you know, but there's a village about 10 to 12 miles away that they will walk to once a week, and they'll find plastic and bags and things, and they will bring them back and use that to plug up the areas in their huts so it won't, if it rains, it kind of protects them. And I thought, how precious is that? They're just trying to find whatever they can find. You know, it's just, it was just so beautiful. So beautiful. So we went on a hunt with them, and we spent the whole day. And it was, again, there's videos to see this. It was just so sad. We would see the hyena tracks. We would see, they won't eat hyena, but we'd see the tracks. We'd see the antelope tracks, but there were none to be seen. You could hear the bells, and you could hear the cows and the donkeys and everything. And I was like saying to Mateo, how in the world are wild animals going to be here? They're just hearing, there's too much noise. It's not peace and quiet anymore like it was. It's not. So it was killing me. They only hunt with bow and arrows. They do not have anything else. And so they kept shooting at any bird that they would see. And finally, Pele, this is Pele, he got a red-billed hornbill. And I was so happy. And there's a video of this whole thing. It's a lot of the videos I share are very graphic. And I will always say warning. I will always tell you, I was not ready for what they were going to do. The bird was injured. It was not dead. And in this picture here, and there's a video of him, he takes the bird and he puts it in his head and he crushes the skull. And then I can't, a lot of them, I cannot pronounce their names because they've got the click language. I couldn't begin to. He took it and put it in like a little belt he had on until they're ready to cook it. So they prepared their fire and they cooked it because it was too small to take back for the rest of the tribe. And we were walking like at least 15 miles that day. And so it was just something for us to eat. And we each had this little piece. Again, their meat is very tough. It's not, you know, everyone, it's carnivores and stuff. Oh, you know, it's aged and all this stuff. Aged meat causes histamine problems. I never had a histamine problem until I became a carnivore, because I was eating all this meat and I didn't understand that, especially like organs and so forth, these are all very high histamine foods and aged meat. So then I started realizing I had to get fresh meat. And so that's all I consume now is fresh meat. And that's what they don't have histamine problem. We talked about this. They don't, because their meat is so fresh. It doesn't have time for bacteria to grow or anything. So again, ancestral eating, it's different. It's totally different. Everyone talks about, oh, you could have honey every day. No. And they see the Hadzabe eat a lot of honey. How can you if there isn't any honey? Okay, they don't store things. They don't do that. They just live for the moment. And so I'm thinking, we're gonna go get some honey, you know, but I'm not seeing any flowers. It's not the season for flowers. And I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher. I taught, this is what I used to teach, is science. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So we go in here, and this is what there's two miles apart, but we first find this first nest, and it's in the ground, and there's bees everywhere. So I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna be loaded. I can't wait to see the honey. I can't wait to see. They get in there, and I'll show you a picture in a minute. Hold that thought. Then we have a big, huge baobab tree, and there's a ton of flies up there, bees flying around. I think, oh my gosh, there's another there. Wait till you see what happens with the two hives. What in between? Hold that thought. While you're there, they're making these pegs that you're going to put into the tree, because there's no branches. and they climb up these pegs, and it's enormously high. It's so high. And he's smoking it out. And there's videos of all this. And he's literally swarmed with bees. And when he came down, he had stingers all over him. And I'm pulling them out. I'm like, oh my gosh, Pele. I'm like, oh my golly. And I wish I so bad I could have videotaped it, but I'm too busy pulling out the stingers out of him. It didn't affect him a bit. Didn't affect him a bit. But this is what they found. Nothing. The one that was towards the ground, it's a brand new hive, but there was no honey yet because there's no pollen. There's no nectar at this time of the year. So everything's dry. This was out on the top of the baobab tree. It was an old one. There's nothing. And so I said to them, but we've been told that you have it all the time. They said, no, we don't. It's seasonal. So we've been misinformed about a lot of things. Nature's going to give us what we need when we need it. And it's very important to think about. I don't think we're supposed to be having a lot of certain things all the time when we need it.
And that's supposed to be having a lot of food all the time.
They didn't. And that's key. They do not, none of the tribes. I mean, I was very thankful. You know, everyone says, well, what about the Maasai? Wait till you hear. I was very thankful that we had my chef with me because they were so afraid I wouldn't be able to handle a lot of food. So he was aware of my needs, and we had what I could eat. So even though I had some moments of struggles, but I had to have someone there to give me nutrients that I wouldn't get really sick on. This is how they drink their water. It doesn't matter what they come upon. It doesn't matter what the condition is. They drink it. Now, in research, and I've always qualmed about this, they say it's because they have such a high fiber diet, that's why they have, of all the people in the world, the most diverse microbiome. Remember, this is the last of the hunters and gatherers in the world. And the sad thing is that they're becoming extinct. And this is what I'm trying to teach the world now after being there. There are a total of about 800, maybe 1,000 tops, but half of them have left. And they are now living like a westernized life. They're more contemporary. There's about only 400 tops living ancestrally. And because their land is being taken away, it's like they're being forced out. And they are some of the last that speak this beautiful click language. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever, and we're going to lose them if we don't do something. And I know many people say to me, yeah, but since we've got enough problems in our world, in our country, let's focus on us and not them. I don't know. I just being with them. I'm part Native American, and I want to do whatever I can to help my people. You know, we've had our land taken away too, you know, living on reservations. And it's just, it's heart-wrenching. But I believe that their gut microbiome is not just because of the plants that they're eating. It's because they live very dirty, which we're supposed to. We're too clean. All this, you know, sanitizer, antimicrobial things that we're putting on our bodies, we're washing and washing and washing. They don't. They don't. And we're designed, our body is designed so perfectly to be able to handle this. Our immune system, we need to boost that immune system, and they can handle drinking this. I was so close to drinking it. I wanted so badly because I collect my own spring water here where I live. And people I've given my spring water to people, and like Chris, when he was here, I gave him spring water and he got sick because his body isn't accustomed to the microbiome. There's germs. I'm sure that there's animals, who knows what they're doing in the spring water that I'm consuming, but I can handle it because I've been doing over 20 years. Same thing with these guys. And their knives that they cut with are filthy. They aren't washing it. They cut something and then they put it away, or have a dog wipe it on the dog's coat, whatever they're doing, wipe it on the ground. It's never washed. Same with the Maasai. And so it's germs, and they're bombarded with them, and their body is so strong and powerful. We have to get back to that. But because we are killing so much of our gut microbiome with the toxins in our environment, the water that comes out of our sink, you know, if it's not from a well, then it's got chlorine, who knows what else in that water, thousands of chemicals in them. We've got pesticides that we're ingesting. We're killing off our gut microbiome. We've got to get that back. It's key. It's key. Fruit. I couldn't wait. I've been studying their fruit. And we came upon this. Now, remember, Mateo I just put out a video the other day with this. Mateo is a Maasai, and this is a Hadzabe. They couldn't wait to pick this fruit. It's the wild plum. It looks like a cherry tomato, right? I go, oh my God, it looks like a cherry tomato. They peel the skin. They know not to eat the skin. So therefore, it must be that the skin has some kind of plant toxins because they don't want to eat the skin. And then there's a pit on the inside of it. It is not sweet. It is extremely sour and bitter. It's not something I would run to. I will tell you that. But this is this is their favorite. Mateo was like, oh my gosh, I just love this. It's my favorite. The Hadzabe. We've been told that the Hadzabe, it's the baobab is their favorite fruit. And I asked them, and they said, no, it's the wild plum, of course, in their language.
Mhm.
In Maz, this is called ngami. And so interesting, a lot of things that we're told is not what it is. This is very seasonal. This is only out a few months during the year. It is not all year long, very seasonal. And they aren't going to go look rushing for it, but if they come upon it, they will take a few. You know, maybe 7 or 8 tops, and that's it. But it's loaded with potassium and vitamin C, very high. And it's also a good source of sodium, magnesium, phosphorus, and calcium. So this is important. We need to think about this, guys. And everyone talks about the Maasai being, you know, they do. But again, it's not every day. It's not every day. So this is another piece that was important to know. Now look at this is the pastoralists that are living on the hunting grounds. Here are their cattle coming down right here. All their bells are ringing. And I'm like, my gosh, no wonder they can't, there's no animals. The wild animals are being scared away. It was unbelievable to see. And there was nothing. We went back and all they had gotten was that bird, which we consumed. And then we had a couple berries. On our way back, there was this Iraq family living there. And I'm like, the boys go in there. This is the hunters. I'm like, what are we doing? And they bring them out fresh milk. The Hadzabe have never consumed dairy. But now this tribe is incorporating it. And I asked them, I said, do you like it? And they're like, yeah, we really like it. It's food for them. But it's going to be interesting to watch this tribe. The longer they consume it, I wonder if it's going to change, you know, how they are, how their health is. It's amazing to see, but they really love it. I'm not sure if the women are getting as much as they're getting. Possibly if the women, because they stay more towards because we're so far away. We are so far away. You know, we're at least 10 miles away from the tribe. So I don't know if when the women when it comes time for the dry season, if they're going to have to walk that far to get water, which is probably most likely that they would be able to get milk from this tribe or the other tribes. But it was interesting to see that the men are having milk in their diet. Very interesting. So we get back to the tribe, and I'm heartbroken. They have nothing for the tribe. What are they going to eat today, aside from their tubers and some of the greens that they had found? I said, guys, we have to go. We have to go find food. They're like, where? And I said, let's go to all the different tribes in the region and ask if they'll sell me either a goat or a lamb. And they're like, they said, well, okay, we'll go. So at first I wanted to take them out to lunch. They were starving. So we stopped, we had to go about maybe 10, 12 miles to a small village, and their restaurants, they just have fresh slaughtered meat hanging. I wish we had this. And you eat outside. So I go in and pick the cuts of meat that we want, and they cook them right there for you. And then you bring out this platter of just all the meat on it. And they were just eating away, eating away, eating away. But interestingly enough, they said to me, can we have some soda? And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm a researcher, a health. And I said, the day I would ever want you to drink that. I said, no. So at first they were a little, I said, I will buy you spring water. So Kilimanjaro, but it's in plastic. It was not in glass. It's all we could have there. And, but look at their teeth. Look at these smiles. Are they not gorgeous? And they do brush their teeth exactly how the Maasai do. And I'll show you that in a minute. So anyway, so we drove around and we kept driving. We kept asking tribe after tribe, and they all kept saying no. And they're like, we're not going to be. I said, I'm praying. I said, God will bring one to us. We stopped finally at this tribe. It's a wife. The wife was Iraq and the husband was Datoga. They married together, which that tribe actually does that. And they were willing to sell me an 8-month-old lamb. And so I purchased the lamb, and here it is. We took it back to the tribe. Mateo, this is Mateo. And there's 2 very, very graphic videos I just posted, I think last week, that show how they slaughter. Mateo wanted to show the Hadzabe how the Maasai slaughter an animal to teach them how to really make use of all of the food that's there. And they were so inquisitive. They really wanted to see what a Maasai would do. And it was so neat to watch. I mean, it was very difficult for me because it's the first time I've seen an animal, aside from that bird, have its life taken. And I struggled. But once I saw the end product of them sitting like this and eating. Now, I want you to picture this. This is our flashlight that is lighting up. it's normally completely black. Just the very small flicker of the fire is giving them the light at nighttime. Their night vision is unbelievable. And I've researched this for years. And they've talked about over the years, all of the tribes that they've studied throughout for over 70,000 years, they know that they didn't have any eye problems. The myopia was a little bit, was only at 3%, but I could see and I asked them all, I said, can you see really well? And they said, oh yeah, but at nighttime, I'm tripping over everything. And they're walking as if they can see everything. They go hunting at nighttime. It's remarkable. And again, we have to, and I put that out today. That was something I posted this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I said this, think about if they had the eye problems that we're all struggling with. Would they even be in existence, because they need to have such keen eyesight to be able to see their predators and where their next meal's coming from. Many of us can't see a distance, or we can't see it close. So many things. They're pristine. God doesn't make mistakes. If we eat, and I think that our screens are a big problem. And I've written about this as well. But anyway, look at this. Look at them. When I saw them, the look of appreciation. This is our food. This is our substance. They are eating with the ugali, though. This is the ugali right here in both of their pans, because they don't have a lot of food anymore. They have incorporated ugali. Ugali is corn maize that is made with water. And this is what they're eating. I'm hoping that they're getting this from the Iraq tribe that gave them the milk. I'm pretty sure that they probably are, because a lot of, we'll talk to them when I get there. I'm afraid if it's a GMO, that again, that's gonna be another problem for them. But they love this because they said it's food. It's food. And they were scraping it, they're taking and they're putting it into and I asked them in some of the live chats, I said, have you noticed a difference since adding ugali, since you're changing your diet? And they said, yes, we're getting sick. And I thought that was interesting. But on another side, I have to be a researcher. I have to look at both sides. But we have cultures who have lived for centuries, generations, eating grains. I think it's the kind of grain. I think it's also our DNA. I have celiac disease. I can't eat grains. It'll kill me. And I think that depending on our genetics, our circumstance, the kind of plants that we're eating and what they've been grown in and so forth, I think all that matters. And if you have tribes who have never consumed a lot of grains and all of a sudden they're putting it in there, is that causing havoc? I don't know, because all the tribes have said this. All of the 7 I lived with, they have said since they've changed their diet and are adding in this ugali and these plants, they are noticing their health is suffering. I thought that was quite remarkable. Oh, again, I just wanted to show you. So here, this is how the Maasai cook their meat. They don't put it right on the flame. They do it on a skewer. And so this is the ribs, this is a leg, and this is the liver. And they just slowly, very slowly cook it. And again, their meat is very tough. It is not, aged. And anyone who thinks they have to have this melting in your mouth meat, they don't eat melt in the mouth. That's why they have these jaws. I was literally sitting there trying to get through this stuff. They would power through it. I mean, I have a video of me literally trying to put my camera in the mouth, watching Pele he's chewing the bones and crushing them with his mouth. I'm like, look at that. Look at him go. And I was struggling. They were laughing at me because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to get through this one piece. And their jaws are so powerful because they eat, their meat is so, and that's, I believe, one of the key components why their teeth and their jaws are so amazing. And they do not one braces. I mean, they have it was, again, I was just in awe of how their structure. It was just beautiful. And a lot of people say, but why are they missing teeth? Because that's their rituals. You will notice in many of the tribes, they're missing 2, maybe 1, depending on what it is. It's because that shows strength and power. And so when they're young children, around the age of 4 or 5, and those permanent teeth have come in the Maasai especially, and even the Datoga, they will remove the lower teeth with a knife. Without any painkiller, you are standing there and you do not shed a tear. And even the girls do. Some tribes, it may be the upper tooth, and they think that's a sign of beauty. But also the key thing is, which I'll show you, I'll wait till we get there. It's so much I have to tell you, oh my golly. So here we have now the women. So now the women are going to show you what they do. And so I'm thinking, oh, we're going to go gathering, we're going to go gathering, we're going to go find the roots and tubers and so forth. And we did. And of course, there's a video on this as well. And this is one of their favorites. It's called the shumako. They can eat it raw, but it's very, very, very fibrous, extremely fibrous. But their favorite way to do it is to roast it on the fire for about 5 minutes. And you can see in the video that so I'm squatting there with them and they're giving me the pieces. And it was so, the water content and the mineral content when I was chewing on this, coming out of it was unbelievable, delicious. But there's no way I could have swallowed it. There was the fibers. It was so, I was like, and you could hear us chewing around, but you could just see. And she said, this is their favorite. This is what they prize. And I'm thinking, but you're not really getting, how are you going to feel sustained? I would be so hungry. But this is they know they're getting so many nutrients out of this tuber. It was amazing to watch them, but it was unbelievable. I was so excited to try that. These are the greens. And I said, do you eat these raw? And they said, no, we boil them. So they do boil them. Again, I think that removes some of the toxins in the plants that we see.
So
They're also
Suzanne, were they eating the whole tuber or just
they peel the skin,
nutrients
just
and
inside, they peel it off and they just eat the inside skin, the fibers on the inside, but then they just chew it and you spit it out. And that's it. But they're not only gatherers, they're hunters, and they hunt rodents. And so they're looking for rats, mice, moles. The day that we were out, I couldn't believe how fast they are to get them, but they only found one. And I said, is it like this? And I said, sometimes we'll find 15. And I said, well, what do you do with them? And they said, we cook them over the fire. And so I think whoever finds it, I think that this woman, I think she was like in her 70s, and I think that she would eat it. Now, people are asking, why are they dressed like they are? Where's their native clothing? A lot of the missionaries and the Catholic charities and things will come and bring them clothing that has been given by other people. And so a lot of the clothing comes from that as well, but they also make jewelry. And in the honey season, they will actually go and try to sell. They'll walk 10, 15 miles to go to the markets and so forth and try to sell to get money so that they can buy and go to thrift stores and get clothing. They will get more of their beads to make their necklaces, but they also drink alcohol and they want to buy alcohol. And so I asked them about that. I said, why do you drink alcohol? And they said, because we like it. And I said, are you sad? I said, do you drink? Because, I mean, for me, I'm thinking, are they drinking because they're depressed because of life? They said, we love our life. They said, we have no worries. I said, you don't have worries about finding food? They said, we know we'll find something. They said, we get up and we live for the moment. And the peace that they feel is just, it's amazing. There's just such peace in every tribe. I don't see anger, hostility, greed, contempt, bitterness, jealousy. There's none. It doesn't exist. It's the most peaceful thing it's that sense of peace. And I think that's another pillar that we don't experience here. And wait till you hear what I tell you about the Maasai, what their belief is. It's powerful, such wisdom. Again, here's the shacks. The little shacks that are everywhere and usually within walking distance of many of the tribes. And they will have the candy, the chips, the oil. Look at the size of the container that was there. They will have those there. And so it's infiltrating. It is infiltrating there. But on one of our lives, and you probably were there, and I asked them about this, and they were adamant. No, we do not want to eat processed food. And they said, some of us have left, and we thought it would be better, but we came back because we were getting so sick. And I thought, wow, that was so powerful. It was so, so powerful. And I did take the blood glucose. I did not do this in the Pacific Islands, but on my own. When I'm on my own, I can make my decisions and do what I want to do. And so I just thought, I'm going to do this my way. And so I did. I was doing blood glucose, and it was amazing. Most of them had beautiful blood glucose levels. I mean, they were right, between 70s and 80s. Some of them had many of the women, and a lot of tribes were in the 60s, and they had already eaten. So I'm wondering if some of us are saying that would be you're in a state of you're low in sugar, but they had already eaten, and so I thought, well, gee, maybe ancestrally the levels can be lower, and we're still in a pristine state. It doesn't have to be exact, but there were some that were higher. But then they later told me that they'd forgotten that they had a fruit or something to eat, and they had forgotten. And I was like, that would tell me why your reading was up a little bit higher. So I don't know. And in some of them, I thought, is it because they consumed alcohol the evening before? And that would also alter the levels. Here again, the Pringles. So their prime, again, sunflower oil is huge in Africa. And notice sunflower oil in the Pringles can is the first. It's not palm oil like we found in the Pacific Islands. Isn't it interesting? So no matter what region you live in, Pringles and all of the junk food will modify their ingredients to what is the preferred oil that they have available. I thought that was really, really interesting. Very interesting. This is the Datoga tribe. Now, remember, we went to two different ones. One is the Pastores was the second tribe. The first tribe is the blacksmiths. So we'll first visit the blacksmiths. Here they are. Their huts are much different now. They're going to have more of the flat roof. They still have the grass on the top, but the walls are made, and the women usually make the huts. So they're going to have sticks and make log type things on the inside, and they're going to have mud and dung from the cows. They will be mixed together. And I was wondering, I wonder if they'll have a smell. It didn't. It was just very earthy. And I thought it was to me, it was a clean smell. It was just very natural, very ancestral. And you can hear a lot of my videos, oh my goodness, it's so ancestral. It was just beautiful. It was just very lovely, very clean. And again, I was always saying I could easily live like this. I could easily live like this. These are the boys. They're in their 30s. Their grandfather taught them how to be blacksmiths. And they're so needed with the tribes. I didn't realize this. I did not realize until you go and experience it. And I have some of the things here. When you see, like if you saw some of the knives that they would have been using, any of the tools, the arrow tips, like here, the arrow tip here, these are made by the Datoga. And there's only a few of them. There's only a few of these Datoga tribes in the region that are blacksmiths. And so the tribes and anyone, in around the villages as well, they come to them to buy the goods. And they find these goods when they'll walk around and they'll find nails and padlocks, and just so they're helping to reuse, recycle products that have been discarded, and they melt them down into beautiful things. And I could not believe. Here they are. So here they've taken a nail and they melted it down to make this. This would be at the end of an arrowhead. Okay. And it would go into an animal. Can you imagine trying to pull that out of an animal? Look at those barbs. And this is so sharp. My fingers get stuck on it. But that was a nail. That was a nail, and it melted down to become this. And you can see his thumb. He lost his thumbnail because when he was pounding it, he slammed his thumb down. And he said that wasn't fun. I said, I don't think so. And then these are their teeth. This is what their teeth look like. This is their grandfather. He's 102 years old. And I will have a video coming out with him shortly, an interview I did with him. Very sharp, not as pristine as what I saw in the Maasai tribe, but still he could get down on the ground and crawl. I asked all of them, and of course Mateo, because he was the one that had to translate. Some of my questions, he was like, I said, ask him if he can get down and squat when he goes to the bathroom. Mateo was like, I can't believe I'm asking. I said, I know, but I have to know this is important as being a human. And most researchers would never ask this because they don't think like this, but this is how I think. He can. And I said, with any help? None. Imagine being 102 years old. I had my students, young children, who could not squat because they've been sitting, and we are not designed to sit. Chairs are a fairly new invention. They were really created for the royalty. Most people did not have chairs. It's fairly new in homes. And so now we're sitting, and our pelvic region, our everything is totally out of line. We're just not living human. We're not living ancestrally. If you can't squat, you wouldn't be able to survive. Because how are you going to go to the bathroom? How are you going to be able to do so much of what they do is squatting and getting to the ground? All of these elders in their hundreds are squatting to go to the bathroom without any help. It's remarkable. His teeth, he's got all of them there. And he was laughing. They're all laughing because I'm like, open your mouth. I want to look. And he was like, but look at them. They're all there. He's only missing the center ones because, like the Maasai, that's what they remove. So the lower centrals. Now, why they do that, and this is brilliant, because if you get sick and you can't open your mouth, kind of like lockjaw, there's certain illnesses you can't open, that's where they will give you their medicine that they make out of plants. It will go between those teeth and they'll squeeze it into those teeth. I thought, really? I never would have thought of that. But they also say it's also a sign of beauty, and it's also to how much pain can you withstand. So there's a purpose for everything they do. Isn't that amazing? But notice his teeth, notice their teeth. Again, their diet. You think that they would be, they're the toga, they're pastoralists. These are not. Because they're working all day long making their blacksmithing, they no longer have livestock anymore. So they're mostly vegan. Their diet is mostly ugali, which is the corn and water, and the makande, which is the red kidney. Now remember this, the red kidney beans and the maize, which is corn, and they boil that together. And so and I was like, what? I said, you guys are mostly vegan? And I said, don't you consume milk? And he said, well, all we have is a goat. We saw the goat, but we don't really drink a lot of milk anymore either. So I asked the elderly man, 102, and I said, what is the most pristine diet? And he said, blood, milk, and meat. But he's not getting it now because it's no longer there. So I think that's what got him to this point. But now he's, I think, mostly living on plants. So it's taking a toll on his teeth compared to when you compare his dental work to that of the Maasai. So it's amazing to see. But again, pristine, pristine, pristine. Now we're getting ready to go to our next Datoga. These people are living like the Maasai, very much like the Maasai. This is where we're staying here. And again, this place, we're living right among, so I would wake up and there'd be a donkey or something right there. We're right in with the livestock. They're right there with us. And so it was very loud at nighttime, all night long. You're hearing the bells and the donkeys. They're right with you all the time, which it was beautiful, but it was hard for me to get used to. But so you look at the landscape, again, think about our eyes. They're looking at distance all the time. We're looking out. It was so beautiful, just so beautiful. No matter where I am, whether it's in the Pacific Islands, I was not looking at a screen unless I was, making a video or something, but it was just heavenly, absolutely heavenly to be living like a human. So we get there and they've never had someone living there with them. I'm this woman coming in and I'm wearing pants, of course. All the tribes, look at how she's dressed, look how she looks, what is this? And they're feeling my hair and they're feeling my skin, green eyes. Oh, because they've got usually black or brown eyes. Look at the green eyes. Oh my gosh, look at her muscles. What is this? How do you do this? They're fascinated by that. But I asked them, where's their spring? And so their spring during the wet season, we were there during the wet season, is not too far, maybe a half a mile. And so we were going there, but I asked their lead speaker right here. This is Gish, right here, this guy right here. He's probably in his 30s. And, he was speaking. Now, all the tribes, they all had to learn Swahili. There's over 120 tribes in Africa, in Tanzania, and they all speak different languages. But they've made it a law recently that you have to learn Swahili so that you can all communicate. Many of the elders don't because that's before their time. So whenever Mateo was talking to them, he would speak in Swahili and they would always respond in Swahili so they could communicate. And so I asked, is it okay if I take pictures? And he said, no, you can't. He didn't like that. I didn't know if he really was too hip with having me there. And so I just thought, I prayed and I said, what will be, will be. God, it's God's hands. So we're going down and I love to jump. I just jump over things. It's just who I am. And so I saw some bushes. So I'm leaping over the bushes and they're like, what they're saying to Mateo, what is she doing? And so I said, tell them this is what I do. I jump. I said, it makes me feel happy. And I said, do it. So then they started doing it and they were laughing. So I took a picture of Gish doing it and I showed him. He'd never seen himself before. And he's like, I said, that's you. And I said, do it again. And I'll take a movie, a video. So I did it. And this time he's jumping over this massive bush, which I'll be posting soon. And I got it and I showed it. He was like, oh my gosh, more. So that's how it broke the ice. I was able to I became one, and so we go down and look how this is only here for a short time. It will dry up and they're going to have to then walk miles and miles to find water. And so look how she's carrying this. I couldn't believe the weight that she's lifting put onto her head. And she's balancing it, didn't spill anything. She has like a thing that she's made that helps to support and so it doesn't hurt her head. But remarkable. You'll notice that the women shave their heads. They all shave their heads. They don't have to wash they don't have a lot of water to wash with. And so it just maintains a simple life. This is how they live. Again, very much like the Datoga we just saw, same thing, but look inside. The flies here were intense. There were so many flies, so many mosquitoes. Literally, you could hear on a lot of my my live chats and so forth. They were literally flying into my mouth. There was hundreds and hundreds. I have pictures of the children. There's just flies all over their faces. It's in our food. You know, some people say, "Oh my gosh, how can you eat that?" It is what it is. You know, you're picking up a food and you just kind of brush them off as you're putting it in your mouth. It's rough living. It's not what we're used to. But I found it beautiful. I found it I was so alive there. Yes, afraid, but still alive. He's eating again. They are incorporating ugali, and he's got a bowl of milk. So again, the ugali's down here in the pan, and this fiddle sticks. And this is a bowl of milk they've all got. So they will eat a piece of ugali, and then they will drink the milk. Eat a piece of ugali and drink the milk. When we spoke with the witch doctor or the medicine woman, it's not, I always thought of them being as men. This was a woman. She was 102 as well. She was in her hundreds. They guesstimate about 102. She was a little larger. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you saw that live chat. She was very quiet, but she walked. She lived quite a distance away from where we were. And she walked by herself and she sat down, but very quiet. But her eyes, and I noticed this in a few of the tribe members in this tribe. I noticed it heavily in Samoa. Many of the people, there was like a glaze over their eyes. I'm thinking, are they all getting glaucoma? I couldn't, but her eyes were severe. And so then I didn't say anything. I just kind of whispered to Mateo, I said, there's something not right here. There's something that's affecting their eyes. So I asked the question on the live chat, and you can hear it. And Gish was up in the tree. And I said, when did ugali come in? Have you always had this? And he said, no, he knew exactly 24 years ago. Now, next to the witch doctor, the medicine woman, was her son. He was like in his middle 80s. We're thinking 85 to 88. And he was sitting there. And I said, have you noticed any changes in your health since adding in ugali? And he became very upset. And now all the teens were sitting there as well. They were all there with us. And he was adamant. And he said, I've been telling them and they won't listen. Since we added ugali, our health is failing. And I said, well, what do you want to tell them? Tell them again. And so I said to Mateo, I said, tell them to listen. And he said, we have to go back to meat, milk, and blood. He said, we're getting sick. And then I said, what do you think about beans? Because the other Datoga tribe was eating the beans. And they said, no, beans will kill us. Beans will destroy our eyes. So I don't know if years ago they had tried to incorporate beans and they started noticing a change in their eyes. I don't know. But then as a researcher, I have to stop and say, but there are cultures who live heavily on beans and have pristine health. Again, is it because their DNA, they are accustomed to certain things? Now, I know kidney beans can be deadly. If they are not cooked properly, they will kill you. They are extremely toxic, but they've got to be so soaked, and cooked and cooked and cooked. Because I know I was vegan and the beans were, I was like an expert on beans. They are very dangerous, and they use the red kidney beans. Maybe they had an issue with that. But again, I will never take sides in any, I will only say as a researcher, this is what I see. I will be going to live in Okinawa in the village of longevity. I want to see with my own eyes. Are they really as pristine? What is their true diet? The same in Greece. I will be doing all of this. I have to know. I don't want to read it anymore because it's not what I read. It's not the truth. So stay tuned. So yeah, now look what their diet is. 2 meals, they only eat twice a day. Most of the tribes only eat twice a day. The morning, it's usually milk. They now are incorporating ugali. That's a new piece. They will also up to a liter of butter a day per person. They will have men 6 liters of milk, women 4 liters per day. Okay, and it's fascinating. But again, they wish they could go back to just having their traditional diet without the ugali. Here we are again. This is Gish over here. This is right before we were getting ready to do a live. And again, this is when we had just arrived, and you're like, "What is this? What is this? Were you born with this?" You know, it was. Is this how you were born? And no, we grow. It was so funny. They were just adorable. But again, they had so many wonderful questions for me. They're all the tribes. They are very based on that everyone has female and males have roles. The men are strong. The men tend to the land, they protect, they provide. The women, they are nurturing, they have the children, they take care of the home. But these are polygamists. They have multiple wives. The Hadzabe are monogamous. They have one wife. That's possibly reason why the Hadzabe are almost extinct. They only have a few children. When I look at Mateo, his father has 4 wives. He has 32 children. His DNA will go on and on and on. But when you're, so they had to do this. I believe that this is why they think the way they think. It also helps with tending to the livestock and tending to their lifestyle. But to see how they live together was beautiful. All the wives are like sisters together. You know, they live in separate huts. Each woman has to build her own hut. Same here. Each woman builds her hut of the wife's, but they all help each other. If they're going to have children, those other wives will come and help to birth that child. It's a beautiful relationship to see them. Beautiful, very, very beautiful how they are together. Now we go to the Iraq tribe. This is an agropastoralist. So as an agropastoralist, they're becoming more contemporary. You can see they're very clothed in regular clothing. They are afraid of the government. They have told me that the government has told them that they can't have raw milk because it would kill them. And so they boil their milk now. So they're afraid of bacteria. And I said, but did it ever kill anybody before when you were doing raw? And they said, no. And we're like, so, so I asked, I said, when they want to give me milk, I said, could you give it to me raw and not boil it? Because I wanted to show them I'm not afraid. You know, our gut microbiome can handle these things. It's ancestral. And so they said they're going to start rethinking. But they are now vaccinated because they're afraid, because the government is telling them they have to have all these things. This tribe, they will walk 10 to 12 miles to the local village to go to a doctor to get what the government's telling them. I said, but you grow corn. I said, have they come to you and told you that they want you to switch over to their genetically modified? And they said, yes. I said, what did they tell you? And they said, well, because we would be better off with not our heirloom, with their crops, because it's going to be growing more faster. It's going to have more yield. And I said, please don't. I said, they're loaded. They're impregnated with chemicals. It's not, please stick. And so he said, I will stick with what our heirloom, and I will not change. So I'm hoping that I was helping. I'm hoping I didn't want to scare them. I just wanted to say, please don't change. Don't broke what was, don't change it. I said, your guys were so good. So this is where we lived here. This is where we're living under the trees, because I was burning so badly. Anyone, now this is another piece, a key piece. All the gurus out there who are saying, oh, we are designed to be in the sun. Let me tell you, if you're not from Africa and you don't have dark skin, you are going to suffer like there is no tomorrow. And the tribes didn't understand that until they watched me. They weren't used to having a white person with them. And I was covered. I don't use sunscreen because I'm allergic to most stuff I can put on my skin. I'm very natural. And so I had my hat on. I would get sunlight in my eyes, but only for a short time, because I have green eyes and they're one of the most fragile for sunlight. And I also have the 2 genes for macular degeneration, and I'm very protective. Although I do believe the sun can be very healing for that as well. So I get the sun, but then I put my sunglasses on. I had my hat, and it didn't matter. I couldn't get away from the sun. And so we were always putting our tents, our campground under a tree so I could be protected. But the burning was unbelievable. The sun was so intense. And so all I can say is we need to understand our DNA. Here we go with genetics again. They have dark skin for a reason. They have a different melanin. They have a different production of what we have, and they can handle the sun. But even they would cover up with their shukas. You could see them when they're out tending to their chores. They would put them over their heads because the sun is so intense. In the Pacific Islands, the sun is intense, but I was in a canopy, mostly in the forest all the time. We were in jungles and we're walking in forests. So I was very protected. I didn't get burned at all there. But here, you can't get away from it. The sun is brutal. And so we have to be careful what we're telling people. Yes, we need the sun. But I think when you are extremely fair and we have a certain amount we can only handle and be wise. The peak sun time, I go out in the morning when I'm here, and I live in a dark region. I live in upstate New York. So I go in the beginning of the morning and later in the afternoon. I'm not going to go in the peak season. I'm in peak time of the day where that sun is intense. It's aging. My skin aged so fast when I was there. I mean, I feel like I've gotten definitely more wrinkles, and hopefully it will heal over time. But it was definitely damaging. Definitely damaging. This is what they eat. This is inside their home. Doesn't it look quaint? They've got some blankets and things that they've hung on the walls. Again, they're made the same way with the sticks and the mud and the dung. But again, their diet, I think because they've been scared by the government, has become mostly the ugali and the makande, which is the beans and the corn. They do drink milk, a lot of milk. And again, their meat very, very rare, even though they've got all this livestock. But most that's for their milk. They do consume the milk. And I think the milk is their saving grace. Their milk is their saving grace. Again, beautiful. Look at this landscape, looking out all the time, looking out. We have to have distance light. We have to be doing distance. This is again in their region, how they put their, see where the trees and so this is where they corral their livestock. So that they're right near their huts at nighttime, because again, you've got to worry about the hyenas, the leopards, anything that's going to come to get their animals, they have to protect them. The babies, the young, the lambs and so forth, the goat, the kids, they a lot of times they sleep right in their huts with them at nighttime. They love their animals are so prized, so prized. This was a pristine. Look how clean the ground is compared to when I was at the other Tatoga. The flies were everywhere. There wasn't hardly any flies here. And I said to Mateo, I said, honey, why is it so clean here? I said, look at it. It's like they're sweeping. Even in their hut was so clean compared to the other where there was not a lot of flies. There were some flies, but not what there was. This is why. This is happiness. Happiness is the 13. There's 8 children. And Mar is that he was the father. He just loves his family. He was so proud of his family to see the way he takes care of them. The children are so active in their chores. But look what she did. Happiness goes over and she gets some branches and she's sweeping. And I have this on video. I'll be sharing all of these things eventually as well. She's sweeping to keep it so clean and pristine. They have such pride in their homes. And again, I kept saying on the videos, I couldn't live like this. This is beautiful. It was just so, they have dirt floors, but they were so clean. It was just beautiful. And she, of course, happiness, she was just waiting on me all the time, bringing, and this is raw milk. They went out, and this is raw goat milk. They went and milked right there for me and brought it to me. And I hope that they saw, I was elated to have the raw and not boiled, because I have never been able to drink milk throughout my life because I've been so allergic to it. And before I left, to the Pacific Islands, because I knew we were going to be eating so many sweet potatoes and oxalates, I started consuming raw sheep dairy. And because for celiacs, I think that's the safest for me because they aren't fed any grains whatsoever. And so that I think is helping me. And dairy is, I think it's powerful, very powerful. Again, here we are with the family, and we had some great live chats, but this family, again, they had some dental problems. Only one man though. He was 60, he was my age, 62 years old. And I could tell he didn't want to really talk a lot with me. And I said, it's okay, you can share anything with me. And I said, is there a problem with your dental work? And he said, I don't have any teeth. And I said, what happened? And he said, in my 40s, in his language, he said, I got periodontal disease. But all their teeth were beautiful. And I'll be putting the pictures up on social media as well. Their teeth were beautiful, just his weren't. And they eat a lot of plants, they do, but their milk, they do consume a lot of milk. You can see milk is being used all the time. And I think that's powerful. I really believe it's a powerful thing. And you'll see how important it is with the Maasai. And
I love that baby in your arms. Look at the baby.
yeah, I just wanted to take them home. It was like, oh, the children were just, and that's another thing to speak about. Their children in all the tribes were what we used to be. Remember, they have no contact with social media. They don't see, they aren't bombarded with horrible images that are just, I've been writing about this a lot on other people's pages. Our children, and remember, I've been an educator. I was teaching for more than 30 years. I know children, and I know what they were when I first started teaching to them when I retired. It's like they were different people. The children were like how we were when we were growing up. They were full of life and they just loved to play. They couldn't wait to get outside. And they were just, by the time I retired, I would say about 10 years before I retired, I started noticing a decline. And that's when the technology started bombarding my classroom. It was infiltrating so horribly. And I kept going to the administration saying, please, we're damaging the children. This is doing more harm than good. And they're like, well, what are you seeing? I said, everyone's got to be seeing it. And I said, my children, I said, they can't even they can't give me eye contact anymore. I said, they're like zombies. They don't want to go outside anymore. They just want to just sit there. I said, they're just lifeless. They're coming in and telling me they're having nightmares because of what they're seeing. I said, they can't even speak anymore. I said, to teach them language, to teach them how to read. I said, they don't know where to put their tongue. And so I was telling everyone in the community, all the parents. I mean, I don't even have a TV. I took my TV out when my girls were growing up because I felt I wouldn't even invite these people in my home. Why are we watching this? And so everyone thinks that's mean, but it became the most beautiful thing because we had the most beautiful quality time together. You know, and a lot of the parents in the community started saying, we're going to follow the same thing. We have to put these things down. The children, and these children were proof of it. They were like how we used to be. They just were and they were the polite, oh my goodness. When they enter in the Maasai, they enter and they will bow down to an elder and the elder will touch their head. And they will never speak back. There is no derogatory language. It is the most utmost respect. It was just the most beautiful thing. And when I go places, I'm always watching because I'm a researcher. I'm always watching people, and I see how children talk to their parents, talking back and talking down. And that was one of the reasons I took the TV out, because I remember watching, I don't remember the show because we're talking probably almost 15, 20 years ago, where it was like a husband and the women and the mother and the children were mocking him, degrading him, berating him. And I looked at my daughters and I said, I'm sorry. This is unacceptable. I said, a family looks up to the man. And I said, and the woman is a loving, kind person. She is not rude. And I said, and the children don't talk back. I said, I can't do this. And to see the children doing exactly how we were growing up back in the 60s, the respect was so beautiful. And we've got to get back to this. We have to get back to this. And this is a key point I really want to talk about in social media, that in the gender. I don't know if you saw that conversation that I had with the Hadzabe. I did the men and the women, and I kind of had to back off because I realized how if they were so upset. When we turned the camera off on this, they were just literally, they didn't know how to handle the information. And I felt terrible. I kept apologizing. I shouldn't have brought this to them because they didn't know. They didn't know about transgender and that children with, questioning, am I supposed to be a boy or a girl? They were just shocked.